hard to believe all this began with about 4 people in Matt Pitt's basement a few years ago.
What has all these rushing the church doors? Church like you've never seen before.
Now developed into an extremely popular Christian worship experience for
hundreds, even thousands of people. Has grown from 1,400 to about 5,000 in 5 months' time.
It continues to grow.
4,000 to 5,000. It started out with just a handful of folks. Now thousands attend the service.
Matt's basement went from this to this. It's outgrown Matt's house, a series of other churches, and it's packed by the thousands.
We're trying to show them, man, that God's real, He's alive, and we can do things through Him, and we do it in a radical way.
This is not your typical worship experience.
the hottest party in town.
With a powerful message.
Really unbelievable. It's something you have to see to believe. It's now considered the largest youth movement in the nation.
Go and look at your neighbor and say, man, you don't even know. We here at the basement, we're not perfect. We're just. So if you're watching right now, maybe you're somewhere else in America or maybe in another country, we want to let you know here at the basement, that is our mission. We're not perfect. We're just forgiven. But we were going to talk about the Thanksgiving throwdown, but somebody say, don't do it. Somebody say, don't do it. How many of y'all know Christmas is right around the corner? How many of y'all love Christmas? Anybody love Christmas up in this house? How many of y'all like Christmas? Man, you get around a Christmas tree, a fireplace, your family. You get the bells a-ringing because it's jingle bell time. Like, how many of y'all remember what I'm talking about? Just, you got to right there. Look at that lady. Oh, my goodness. This is a club. Look at that lady up there. She said, hey. She said, hey. She's like, I'm serious. That lady was like 45 years old dancing. She almost slid down that pole. How many of y'all know you can't just rock around a Christmas tree? Well, there was this one Christmas tree. I'm not kidding you. I used to have to sleep in the living room because my bedroom, more or less, was a living room. I had to sleep on the couch. Somebody say, oh. Yeah, that's all right. And this tree would, I'm telling you, every night, like my dad loved this, man. He would look at this tree and be like, wow, man, isn't that beautiful? And I'd be like, man, no, not really, but yeah. And every night, when he would leave to go to bed, the tree would just fall all up in my business, and it would scare me. Like the Christmas tree just come alive, and just, it'd fall, and I'd be like, man, look at it. And my dad would come in, I kid you not, he would pick that tree up in the morning, he would stick it back up, and he would look at that tree, and he'd go, man, isn't that thing beautiful? And I'm looking at my dad like, no, tree is ugly, and I don't even know where you got it, but, you know, and then the next night it would fall again, then he'd put it up, he'd look at the tree, and he'd be like, man, that's a masterpiece. And I'd be like, no. And then I'm every night. And then he'd pick it up the third. I remember one of the last nights, he'd be like, that tree is just so wonderful. And this is what I want you to know. The Bible says that you are God's masterpiece. And so tonight when I try to encourage you to remember throughout this next year that you're His masterpiece, man, I really want you to go here with me. But I really can't go fully there unless you understand the reason for the season. The God and creator of all things came down, and this don't do it justice, do forgive me, but He came and laid in the lowliest of places. I don't know about you, but it makes me want to give a round of applause and say, thank you, God. Thank you, God, for coming and showing us that God can use anybody, somebody, everybody. It's kind of hard to communicate that to people because when I talk to them, I begin to understand some people don't know it. So I figure, what could we do to help others this season? How could we help them maybe see the message in other ways? I don't know. Like, and I thought of that. Like, I have a friend here tonight. I got 3 friends that are going to help me, but one, I don't know if you know her, but like she was so cool in this movie, man, just so cool. This is what I love about Cindy Lou. Some of you might not know this, but in the movie The Grinch, she looked past every flaw. Like, matter of fact, Cindy Lou, she didn't even see the flaws in the Grinch. She looked past every one of it, and she saw the best in him. The girl actually sees the best in the worst, and so does God. Ephesians 2:10, when he says that you're His masterpiece, or in Exodus when you're His treasured possession, or that he says that you are fearfully and what he is saying is God only sees the best in you. God only sees the best in you. Matter of fact, I love it like this because you'll see a lot of gifts at this time, and gifts are kind of cool. They're pretty. I've always been told, and my mama helped me understand that life is a gift from God. Like your life is a gift from God, and what you do with it, whatever you do with this, is your gift back to God before you go to see Him. It's a gift, what you do with it. Here's the tragedy. I don't know if this has happened to you, but for me, this gift, like, it didn't work out right because you grow up, right, and you get in middle school, and all of a sudden somebody just step on you, man. I don't know. The gift ain't really all that nice anymore. And then you get to high school, like, I wanted to do something for God. Like, God saw the best in me. I wanted to stand for Him, but I couldn't. And then high school, man, it's like the gift just gets worse. And I don't know, maybe not you, but then, college. I don't even know how to explain it. I didn't even make it through college. A drug overdose right there. I mean, just stepped on. Oh, it looked horrible. I remember when my parents came one night and picked me up from jail. I mean, horrible. 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 I don't know what your story is, but everybody's got a story, and everybody's got maybe it looks like a messed up gift. And this is what blows my mind, though. According to God in His Word, that, no matter how bad it's ripped, no matter how bad it's torn, when God looks down, that's a masterpiece. Like, I don't even want to kid you tonight. Like, when I came to the altar and I said, God, I need you in my life, or I was in the basement of my house on my knees before my parents were going to kick me out. This is what I was. And God looked past all the mess and He said, yep, that's special. Now, you got to understand, I had drugs in my system. I was out of everything. How could God think that's good? I don't understand it, but I know this. For God so loved the world that He sent His only begotten Son, that whosoever believeth in Him shall not perish, but have everlasting life. It don't matter what you got going on. God looks past all the flaws. He looks past all the packaging, and He sees the heart. And He goes, that's a masterpiece. You know what blows my mind, though? Some people think, like, once He does that, He fixes it. So it, like, becomes a brand new gift, and they think that everything's perfect. Now, here's my problem as a witness for God. Like, I actually have to tell people, like, real truth, and it actually messes me up sometimes, but people think when you get saved that you just look like that all the time. I'm serious. Like, people are like, man, you got to be perfect. It's got to look like that. And I wish it could be like that, but, like, according to God's Word, again, only Jesus can look like that. So you know what happens even after you get saved? Oh, man, you get around saved people. I'm just being honest. In case you're here tonight and you're like, man, I really want to be on fire for God, like, I'm just going to go ahead and set you up. You can only depend on God. Then life comes at you. Man, talk about, I know some people in here who've been a believer or a Christian for like 10 years. They could tell you, man, it gets worse every single day. Man, get in the traffic during Christmas time. You can call yourself a Christian all you want. And you're like, man, that guy, right, and you go. You ever had to catch yourself like, man, Jesus died on a cross so that I could beat you and ask for forgiveness. I'm just kidding. So look, now it's all messed up, but you're still supposed to be beautiful and a masterpiece and wonderful and special and all this stuff. Well, I'm sorry, I just don't know about that. Because again, even in the walk, you're going to get stepped on, man. It just hurts. Life hurts. Tragedy hurts. The Bible actually says that the enemy come to steal, kill, and destroy. He works on that package every single day. So I just want you to know, whether you were a masterpiece then, or you might feel like this now, God still looks and goes, wow, look at that masterpiece. Look at what I'm doing. Look how awesome they are. Now here's the cool thing. This one's a little bit bigger. But see, what happens is, I don't know when in life, but some people begin to establish that I really need prayer every day. Maybe just a 1-minute prayer. Maybe I need worship, one song. I don't know, in the morning or in the evening. Some people go, I'm just going to pray before I go to bed, and I'm going to be fired up for God. Amen. And eventually, you know what I think begins to happen? Somewhere, no matter how many times they're stepped on, no matter how bad it looks, no matter what goes on, because they're always going to be a masterpiece unto God. Eventually, life kind of has a hard time trying to step on it. And it's like, well, you know, and then friends are like, well, they kind of look like they're really on fire for God, so I don't think they're going to sell out. I don't know if we can get them at the party on Friday night. And then before you know it, like, even all the things around you, God begins to go, yep, it's a masterpiece. And eventually, if you begin to put all those necessary things in, I don't understand it all, but man, any one of these you're special, any one of these you're unique, any one of these you're different, any one of these you're a masterpiece, but I don't know about you, but I kind of want that package. And according to God's word, that if you begin to pray, if you begin to worship, if you begin to love on him daily, he'll be everything you need. Could you imagine, those of you watching maybe around our own country, if all you needed again was prayer, worship? Could you imagine it? Like it's free and you get it every day and it's really all you need. But just in case you don't believe that, I really hope tonight you do understand you are God's masterpiece. He sees past every single flaw, and he loves you. He sees the best in you. But if that's not you, then I got to invite my other buddy because, man, this guy's like super excited. The guy's so happy. He's so excited in the movie. You can stop. Skit's over. Joyful, passionate, maybe even excited. I've seen this movie before, and like he's just all bubbly, and he's all excited all the time, and he's all happy. I'm like, man, eventually I guess something began to happen. And could you imagine, like, if you walked in middle school or high school or work or college every day? You know, the pinnacle of Christianity is kind of, well, Jesus called it fruit, but it's like having love and peace and joy. Could you imagine if every single day of the year you just had joy, and everybody's like, man, I don't know what's wrong with them. They are so excited. They are always happy. They are always passionate. Could you imagine if all the time people could look at you and know that God is real? Now here's the pitch though. According to his word in John, he says that. He says that people will know that you're one of mine, you're one of my disciples by your love. And I just want to tell you tonight, I don't know if you know this or not, but like when you are excited about God, when you do have joy, when you got peace or patience or kindness or all things that are hard, I'm not gonna, it's hard to have, but when you begin to have that kind of attitude and you walk in school or work and every day it's like, even though people chip you down or family's rough, there's this one teacher that told me this girl sits in class all day long and she writes on a piece of paper and she says, she just writes, I hate my life. She's 11 years old. I hate my life. I hate my life. And I thought, man, if just somebody around her could have passion, joy, excitement, maybe she would ask them, why are you so happy to be alive? And they could say, you have no idea what I have. Now, I would tell you this, though. It's not easy because the problem is you've got to believe it yourself. It's one thing for God to say you are a masterpiece, but you have to believe it. I love how the Grinch, once he realized and he believed himself that there was good in him, man, he ended up doing so much for so many others. I love even in that movie how he was always excited, always passionate, always happy. And I thought, man, that's the epitome. But he was so excited because he knew him so much so that I kind of think it's funny, like how, like some of us, I think it's just so funny. Like I love when people like lift, like they worship and they're like, man, I love you, God. Like I love you. And they worship like this. And you might not know this, but like that's just a form that you know him. There's no wrong or right way to worship. I always thought, why can people jump at a football game and shout and cheer and knock each other over, but when you come to church, you got to be like, no, I'm serious. Or why do you have to be like this was radical on fire? Well, there was this one lady in church, right? And she was jumping. I mean, she was jumping. And she was shouting. And she was excited. And I was kind of like, man, she is really distracting me. She's getting on my nerves. And she was. Because I kind of liked the song. At the time, this was back in the day. And I was like, man, that guy is killing it on that guitar. And she is wigging me out. And she was just jumping. She was just kind of kicking, and I was like, whew, man, I don't know what's gotten into her, but she is excited. And thank God somebody leaned over to me and said, man, you didn't hear that lady was a prostitute. She moved here, but I guess because she's been delivered and heard that she's brand new. She might just want to jump a little bit, I don't know, or lift her hands, I don't know. And it kind of hits me. I think it's okay every once in a while to shout a little louder than we do at a football game. I think it's okay every once in a while to lift your hands like a man of God or a woman of God. I think it's okay to be on fire. The only thing we lack is a generation of young people, old people, everybody alike that walks in places and just are not ashamed. I mean, we walk in and we go in school and we talk about Alabama, we talk about anything else. Why can't we just be that cocky and confident about the only one who will last forever? I'm not saying you have to. I'm just saying you might be the only Bible that some people ever read. But I'll end on this last point because I get excited. Me and Bird travel a lot together, and we get to talking, and we always talk about like what God's doing. And I was like, man, the manger was a holy night, and I was trying to explain it. And Bird kind of looked at me and challenged me, and he was like, we talk, we iron sharpen iron. He's like, no, bro. I mean, think about it. Every night with Jesus is a holy night. And I'm like, well, yeah, I guess you're right. He did walk on water. Did some pretty cool things. He's like, no, I'm serious, like every night. And he's like, I mean, every story in there, and we begin to talk about it. He's like, I mean, you're talking about the first night, but even the last night, when Jesus sweat blood, was holy. And he began to tell me just how he looked at it, and I was like, man, why don't you tell the basement how you told it to me? So give him a round of applause as he shares with you what he shared with me, and we end.
Well, I guess like he said, yeah, every night's a holy night with Jesus, right? I mean, I love the song. I love the story. Yeah, it is great. It was a holy night. But I just got to thinking, like, what about the last night that Jesus was on this earth? Like, that had to be, so holy. Like, what he did for me and you that night, it was definitely holy. But, like, I got to thinking, like, what if you were in some of those guys' shoes, like, that night? I mean, they would definitely have to say, man, this night was a holy night. I mean, just some of those guys, I get to thinking, like, what would it have been like to have been them? Just to have been there and seen this night live. You're talking about a holy night. It'd have to be this one. I mean, I think of a guy named John, like in what he saw. I mean, this was Jesus' homeboy. Like this was Jesus' dude, his closest friend. What he saw that night, he'd tell you it's a holy night. I mean, he saw Jesus. Like what he did for me and you, what he took, the lashings. Like when everybody came in this garden, these soldiers come and they get him, they take him away. Everybody scatters except John. I mean, John sat there and he saw the whole thing, man. He would definitely tell you, it was a holy night. I mean, he saw him beaten. He saw his back shredded. He saw him beaten beyond recognition. I mean, if he could say anything tonight, I know he would say, God he just loves you so much. Like, he really does, like Matt was saying, he really does see the best in you. Like, he has to. You might not think it, you might not see it, but I mean, think about it. Jesus willingly stood there and was beaten. Why? He must have saw the best in you. He must have not seen your failures. He must have seen your potential. I mean, he sat there and took it willingly. I mean, think about it. It's Jesus. At any time, he could have called down angels and stopped the whole thing. I mean, it wasn't the nails that held Jesus to the cross. It wasn't the nails that held his hands. No, it was the love he had for you that held him up there. He hung there willingly, man. You're talking about a holy night. This night of all nights was holy when everybody scattered. I mean, John 15:13 says, no greater love than this, than a man that would lay down his life for a friend. John, he saw that, man. It was something different to him. He saw Jesus lay down his life. It says while we were still sinners, he took it. You're talking about a holy night. What Jesus did for me and you, it'll blow your mind away. John saw it. He just sees the best in you, no matter what. If he could say anything now, he'd be like, Jesus sees the best. You really are his masterpiece. He sees the best in you. I mean, I get to thinking about this next guy, like, what would it have been like to have been in his shoes? I mean, Judas. Like, this probably wasn't a holy night for Judas. I mean, this was the night that he betrayed Jesus. I mean, for what, a bag of coins? Like, for this? Like, sold him out? Like, I just can imagine him thinking that night, like, man, it really didn't satisfy. It really didn't make me happy like I thought it was. Like, it didn't really fill that void in my heart like I thought it would. sold him out. I mean, here's what blows my mind. Maybe it's just me thinking crazy. If I'm Jesus, like Jesus treated everybody the same. No one knew like who was going to betray him because he treated everybody the same. He said they had to ask in this story. You got to read it in Matthew chapter 17. I think it'll blow your mind away. He says, they like, who is this going to betray you, Jesus? Because he treated them all the same. If I'm Jesus and you're going to get me beat up, you're going to tell a bunch of old dudes a lie about me and they're going to beat me up? No, player, me and all my boys, we're going to take you outside right now. We're going to handle this. You know, heck no. Jesus, oh, he loved him so much. But he sold him out, man. For what? This. And I just get thinking about, like, my life. It just seems like for so many years of my life, I chose this bag over God. Like, I did. I chose this bag. And in my bag, it wasn't money. It wasn't coins. But in my bag, it was drugs and partying and a lifestyle of just bad relationships and trying to please people and friends and popularity. And I just thought that this was going to fill me over God. I mean, this was going to fill me over following Jesus and living for him, right? I mean, it was going to fill that void in my heart, and it just didn't. And for so many years, I sold out until I really found this Jesus, until I really made a decision to follow him. Then he filled me, then he satisfied me, then he gave me something real to live for, man. Tom Brady says it best. NFL quarterback, man. He's got it all. Super Bowl rings, Super Bowl championships. He's got money, houses, cars, you name it. They asked him the other day in an interview, said, were you happy? You know, is it worth it? Are you happy, Tom? He's like, man, there's got to be more to life than this, right? I mean, there's got to be more. I've got everything I've ever wanted in life, but there's got to be more. This bag, I just want to tell him, it'll never satisfy you, man. If there's anything we can learn from this night, whatever's in the bag, whatever it is that we can sometimes carry in life, it'll never really satisfy you. But really knowing that Jesus, really following him. I mean, on this holy night, we know that. And I get to thinking this last dude, Peter. Like, if there's anybody in the Bible that I can relate to and I love, it's this cat. He's like all the time, it seems like, saying something he shouldn't say or sticking his foot in his mouth. The next thing you know, he's cutting off a dude's ear and Jesus is like, hey, man, chill out, you know, or he's trying to walk on water and he sinks. I mean, he's always doing something crazy, right? He's got to have ADD. I don't know what it is, but I just see that. When I read it, I'm like, yeah, he's like me. I don't know. But Peter, on this night, trust me, he would definitely say it was such a holy night. Like, what all happened to him, you got to read it. It's crazy. They start off at this table, right? Jesus is telling them, hey, man, this is what's about to happen to me. It's a real serious mood. And, you know, Peter's like, tries to save the day. I mean, you got to read it. It's crazy. And he stands up and he's like, hey, dog, Jesus, I got your back, man. I ain't never gonna turn my back on you. I got you, Jesus. Jesus is like, no, man. Actually, you're going to betray me 3 times before the rooster crows tomorrow. It'd be a blow to the stomach. Backfired on him, you know. So he thought he was going to save the day. He finds out he's going to betray him. Next thing you know, they go to this garden. Jesus is sweating blood. He's so worried right now. He's like, he knows what's about to happen to him on this night. He sees it. I mean, he's literally sweating blood because he's so worried. He's so stressed out about it. He's like, Peter, man, y'all just stay up and pray with me. Just stay up and pray. Comes back, Peter's asleep. He's like, Peter, man, wake up. Wake up, man, stay awake. Pray with me, I need you. He goes back praying, he's sweating blood. Comes back to him again, sleeping. Wake up, Peter. Peter, I need some Red Bull, man. I can't stay awake. I don't know what it is, man. Wake up, pray with me. Comes back a 3rd time, sleeping on him. I mean, the night Jesus needs this dude the most, this is his big night, his big finale. Peter's sleeping on him. And then to top it all off, yeah, Peter denies him in front of everybody. I don't even know that man. I don't even know who he says he is. If anybody knew Jesus was real, it was Peter. Peter was with him for 3 years, saw every miracle he ever did. Saw him raise the dead, heal the blind, walk on water. He saw it all. I don't know about you tonight, but I don't know if you've ever made a mistake in life, or you've ever felt bad, or you've ever wiped out. You ever felt guilty? You're ashamed of something you did in the past and thought, man, God couldn't still love me. God's mad at me. I mean, he couldn't still use me. I mean, I've messed up way too bad this time. I don't know if you ever felt that in life, but Peter on this night, oh man, he felt that times 10. I mean, the guilt, the shame that he must have felt, his past, how bad he messed up. But here's the good news about the gospel, man. Jesus came right to him first after all this. And he said, man, I love you. I'll pick you up every time. Every time you wipe out, every time you fall down, it's like Jesus just loves coming to you, picking you up no matter what happens. Old things are passed away. All things become new. He's not only a God that forgives, he's a God that forgets. So really on this night, what we're really trying to say is God really can use anybody. Like if Peter could say anything to us tonight, he would just say, man, God can use anybody. He'll give anybody a second chance. On this night, he found that out, that God can use somebody.
I mean, the question, I guess, is, he's proven it that he, like Bird says, he does give second chances. 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th. God does see the best in you. The question is, do you? Do you believe that God sees the best in you? Maybe you're a gift and you're kind of crumbled and you would love for him to fix you up. That's cool. I need it every week. Have you forgotten lately maybe that you do know him? It actually says when you know him, others will know that you know him. You have that joy that people can't buy. You have peace that calms a hurricane storm. You got love that would revolutionize a whole high school. I guess what I'm trying to say is Jesus can always use you. He can use you. Tonight, if you're here and you say, man, I want Jesus. I want that gift in my life renewed. I want to make sure that I know him. As we sing, come on and say it loud. It's a beautiful altar call. Let's say it. Here we go. Say, Jesus. You don't know how much I need you. You don't know how much I need to be filled with you again. I need you to rewrap this old gift. And I need you to use me like you once did. Or maybe you're out there going, man, I didn't know he could use me. He'll use you in whatever condition you are in. You have to change overnight. He'll change you in time. You come just as you are. We're trying to show them, man, that God's real. He's alive, dude. He can do things through him, and we do it in a radical way.
This is not your typical worship experience.
It's now considered the largest youth movement in the nation.